Guys, it's Kuzomari here, back with another video. And in this video today, I'm gonna be doing a tutorial on how to draw some anime heads. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out this music. Hopefully it's not too loud or too quiet, but I'm gonna be doing a tutorial on how I draw anime heads and pretty much how you can learn to draw them from every perspective. So I'm kind of just going to jump into it, so I'm not jumping around too much. I will look at some comments eventually, but I'm going to kind of just go with the flow. I'm giving this a try, this type of tutorial session, I guess you would call it, a try. So that way, I didn't know if I wanted to do the normal tutorial videos. I might do some, but I wanted to see how this would go, and if this goes well, if you guys like it, definitely hit that thumbs up button. Lets me know if you guys do like this stuff. But yeah, because this way I can answer some questions while I'm doing stuff, but I definitely want to get into it. Anyways, the two most important things to be able to draw anime heads from any perspective or any angle is you should know your perspective and shapes and perspective. So that knowing your perspective would be the 1 point perspective. Sorry, that was out of the camera. 2 point perspective and 3 point perspective. You should learn these very well and get them down pat. I don't actually have a perspective tutorial up. I probably will do one in the future, but I don't have one. They're pretty easy to find. And it's a pretty simple concept, and you just gotta get it down and learn it pat. Have it come second nature to you, so that way you can learn how to draw shapes and perspective, which will allow you to construct these heads. So basically, learning how to draw from those tutorials that show you they tell you to draw a circle, then like draw lines down, or draw across, and then draw these lines. By the way, you can always follow this to get a normal head from the straight on view. That is the simplest way to do it, but that's not going to help you in the long run. If you don't know perspective and shapes and perspective, this is a short-term version of kind of getting what you want. And then when you go into other positions, that's when it starts getting more complicated, because you're stuck in this idea of this 2D flat thing. This will help you start understanding things in more of a 3D sense, understanding the depth of what you're doing. So that way, you're not just thinking of these as lines, you're thinking of what's behind the lines. So that way, when you're like, well, I know how to draw this because you learned from someone's tutorial how to draw it, kind of like how I just showed you, you'd be like, well, how do I draw it if I were to turn the head like that? Oh, well, don't know how to draw that arrow. I mean, I know how to draw. By the way, guys, sorry for the cough. By the way, guys, I'm pretty tired, so if I'm messing up on my speech, that's probably why. I probably should have waited until tomorrow or something. But I pretty much pulled an all-nighter. But yeah, I wanted to do this for you guys. So, and I felt like I was like, all right, I'm gonna do it today, right now. Excuse me. All right, so you go to try to draw it from another perspective, but you're kind of you don't know the shape of the head and what it's actually made of, the shapes that it's made of, and you wouldn't know what to do. You would kind of I'm not gonna try to draw what you might accidentally do, but you wouldn't know to do something like this unless you looked at some reference. And what you want to learn is the shapes behind it, and that's what I'm going to kind of show you guys today. Perspective will help you with a lot of this stuff. So that way, if we were to do this and we wanted to move the perspective, tilt the head upward, we would take this, well, that wouldn't actually happen. Take that line like that, and I'm going to show you the shapes involved with it, but this is just a little something to show you guys. You could then do that, and this is what perspective will help you understand, is you then, the perspective in learning shapes and perspective, like a square would allow you, well, square, cube, rectangle, whatever, allow you to understand the depth behind it. So you could go back this way, understand the ear goes here, not here, or anything like that, because you might be confused depending on what state you're at, on what level you're at in learning. Everyone's at a different level, so you might already know some stuff, so this stuff might help you. In any case, let me get to drawing the squares. So if I were to draw my voice is shaking because I'm so tired. Anyways, let's draw some squares in perspective. Let's get some heads out of these. And by the way, just to clarify, learning this will help you learn so much more in art, perspective and shapes and perspective, because everything in 2D art, and even 3D art, because perspective is still used in 3D art, perspective on a 2D canvas creates the illusion of depth. And what is anything in art that you draw but shapes? So human anatomy, clothes, trees, buildings, they are all constructed of shapes, whether they be more complicated shapes or less complicated shapes. If you know how to draw a square, or I keep on saying square, but a cube, this is just a really poopy cube, a cube, a cylinder, and then a triangle, in perspective, you can essentially draw anything. It's easier said than done because you have to learn how to mold that shape into what you want. Because if you knew your perspective well enough, and I had a square, cube. Anyways, I had a cube like this, you would be able to act like a sculptor, and you would be able to hack away pieces of this. And you would eventually be able to technically create a head. Of course, that's not the goal to do that with everything. That's to understand the depth of it. So, but yeah, that would help you understand the depth of what you're doing, and it would be able to, if you're able to figure out how to draw a square in perspective, if I were to take a square, if I would take, cube guys, cube. If I were to take a cube and do this, you'd be able to figure out, if you understood the shape of a jaw, you would be able to be like, okay, well, how can I put this jaw into here? You know, all these lines are going up like this, sideways like that. It follows the perspective, and you'd be able to put in all the little curves and stuff if you understood the shape well enough. And then if you didn't know how to draw it from another perspective, you would be able to then draw a cube. And this isn't what you would do every time. This is a practice to get you to understand the shape of this, so that way you would no longer have to use the cube anymore. This is so that way you can continuously get this shape correct. I'm following this same pattern on the bottom part, going upward again, going this way, going up, and bam, you have a really simple bottom jaw. And that's essentially what you can do with every single shape. And that's the whole point of learning shapes, or learning perspective and shapes and perspective, because it will get you where you want to be. This is long-term thinking. This is you wanting to get to a level of being able to draw people in in the illusion of space, of depth, being able to draw them in different angles, perspectives, all that stuff. So we'll be able to get you there. But yeah, like I was saying, this isn't bad to learn. It's just if you want to go further, there's a point where you need to learn this. And it's better to basically, if you learn this in the very beginning and you learn it well, it's the foundation that'll help you build what's correct. It's better to build something just like a building. Building a building on a very sturdy foundation will help the building not fall. If you build it on a rocky foundation, you may have to go back and support things, meaning learn this, which will make you realize there's a lot of stuff that you were learning that was wrong, because you can learn it the wrong way. You can memorize how to draw something wrong. And that's hard, because then you have to break a habit that is an incorrect habit, which is something that I fell into. And that's one of the things I wanted to get into with these streams, is help artists that are really serious about getting further in art not make the same mistakes I did. Anyways, let's get into the good stuff. So basically, a lot of the things, so I'm going to start drawing heads here in these. All right, let's try. And another good thing is you should learn some bone anatomy. You don't have to learn every bone in the body, not stuff like that. But especially for the face more so, I would say you definitely want to learn how to draw a skull, because if you can draw a skull, it'll start letting you understand why things are the way they are. Knowledge about what's underneath will help you understand why everything on the outside looks the way it is. And basically, if you know how to draw, skulls are so much more simple than actually drawing super complicated faces. And you may be thinking, well, anime faces are so much more simple, you don't really need to learn how to draw a skull. That's not completely true. This will help you get a lot further. I still draw an anime style, and when I learned how to draw a skull, I was able to position it in a bunch of different angles, and it made me understand why things look a certain way. In any case, you can break a skull down into, this is a really simple skull, by the way. You can break a skull down into 2 sections. I'm sure you could break it down into more sections, but I'm just doing it like, super simple. Top part, and you can break it down into the bottom part, the jaw. So that way, this part's super simple to understand when you're actually looking at it and looking at reference. It's just this, by the way, this is a side position. It's just an egg shape, and then you would draw this nose thing, this nose thing, the teeth area, the cheekbone, which actually connects back there, and then there's this indent here, which is where your temple is. And it goes back and connects into your skull, the back of your skull. And it's pretty simple when you simplify it. You don't have to draw like all the little details of it. It would be good to learn that at some point, but you don't have to do that at first. So this is really simple to go with at first, instead of you just got this socket, you got this stuff. So if you're having a hard time drawing at a different angle, and I've done this several times for myself, if you're having a hard time drawing it at a specific angle, you got these really simple shapes, egg shape, egg shape. And then if you know perspective well enough, you'd be able to know that, okay, it's going in this perspective. And I'm going to draw the eye sockets here, the nose part here. These are the cheekbones. This is your skull, back of your skull. And you could essentially apply this idea of thinking of it as a rounded kind of cube. Well, it's not a cube, it's like almost like a rectangle. Bringing it down, knowing the perspective is going similar to if you were to draw. Oh, sorry, it's connecting there. I don't want that to confuse you. Say you're pretty much drawing something like this. Well, this is way too long, but we could always just hack off the back here. You're thinking of this when you're doing it. So if you don't know how to just do this off the bat, you could start hacking away at this like a sculptor, or you could draw it really lightly, or we can do this, start erasing a little, kind of like how I do in some of my videos, and then you can, you could already have the guidelines there, but then you can start building over there. It's here. It's here. And then this is technically the hard part, drawing this thing, because then the jaw is really just this, like, you know, it's this shape. It's a super simple shape to get down in its simplisticness, like its most simple shape, simple form. It's pretty much just that. So you would pull it down here. If you learned it like just like this, and it was in a square, or whatever, cube, square, 3D square. No kidding. Pull it back and act like you're doing it. You could always, these are bottom views, but you could always try to recreate it from a top view, like this angle would be doing this. But yeah. So then we would connect that there. And you may be like, well, what is that useful for? Basically, if you are able to learn that and you understand why things are the way they are underneath, you would then be able to know the nose, the eyes, ear, mouth, pretty crappy head, but let me see if I can get this to focus a little better. But essentially, that's what it is. That's kind of like the process. And you would be able to learn these shapes separately in several different perspectives using this kind of method, understanding the full shape of the skull, and you'd be able to draw this head in any perspective. And if you're able to figure out each shape, when you know perspective, it's a lot easier. Because if you're trying to, one thing that we have to do is use reference to study from, never use it for your own work, but to study from, to learn. And you're able to see if there's a bottom view of somebody and you're studying it, and you see the nose, you're able to know that it's going like this instead of accidentally drawing one of the nostrils down here when it's not supposed to be there, and the mouse like right here. You're able to figure out the lines of where things go, kind of like if you've ever seen 3D art. It has all these grids all over it, going over, showing the depth of that object. And essentially that's what you're trying to learn to do at a really simple level, because we don't want to learn, like, you know, I don't even know how many lines are on those 3D shapes, but it's a lot of lines. But yeah, so let's start drawing some of these skulls here. I'll just do it in the simple shapes. I'll look at the comments here in a second. Sorry. There's a huge mosquito in here that I was going to kill earlier. I went to kill and it freaking disappeared, even though it was huge. It has a quirk. It has a quirk of invisibility on demand. And definitely disappeared earlier, and I couldn't find it. I was like, what if this thing comes at me during a stream? And during the stream, it did. It just came at me. It came at me, bro. Come on. The hell? The hell's up with that? And I can definitely do a tutorial sometime if you guys would like, on shapes and perspective and shapes and perspective. There would probably be two different tutorials. Me going over, well, maybe not, but I don't know, because I think they both deserve their own full video. But at the same time, perspective can't be taught very well or in depth without having shapes in that perspective to understand perspective. So, you know, I know this is kind of small. I'll draw some big ones. Draw some big ones. Didn't sound wrong at all. Oh man, my eyes. I don't know if any of you are here in one of my other streams, I was talking about my eyes. My eyes are pretty bad. Let's lighten this up here. And I'll get into some other tips for noses and stuff here as well. Let's do a little erase to lighten it up. Sorry about that there, guys. I think it cut out. Hopefully it's going now. Let me know if you guys are there. My app failed on me. But yeah, hopefully it's still there. We are. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Yeah, that was weird. My app failed on me. As my eyes are. All right. All right. So essentially, that's that. Now, pretty much everything that I showed you guys earlier on, learning the shapes like this in these boxes, basically the boxes, learning shapes in perspective will allow you to be able to learn more complicated shapes in perspective without the box. So your goal is to pretty much create this 3D memory of that shape so you can draw it in, this is the jaw, in any perspective you would like without using those boxes. If anything, well, I don't know if I want to put that line there, that was just me, my sketching. But yeah, you would be able to make anything without the box if you practice it enough through repetition. And you would eventually just, if you need some guidelines, you would just, do some, I could do this, and then I was deciding what I wanted to draw for this. I'll draw the jaw thing again. The jaw thing. Goodness gracious. But yeah. All right. So let's get into some tips on like the positions that I know that a lot of people hate drawing or have a hard time drawing. I always did. So let's go with this upward angle. Or below angle. Upward. One of the problems a lot of us have is not knowing what to do with this bottom jaw area. First of all, you'll be able to figure it out if you learn the jaw in perspective. And you learn all this stuff in perspective. One of the things many people do is emphasize these lines too much. And one other thing we like to do is put this mouth down too far. We want to make sure it's up enough from this chin, because the chin is rounded. So when you actually start seeing underneath it, there's a big portion here that isn't a part of the under part, the actual under part of the jaw, but it's a space that we don't account for sometimes, and we move down as if we think the jaw cuts off at just like a straight line, and then it just goes straight back and down into the neck. which it doesn't do that. So you want to make sure you try to put that up high enough, at least for the angle that I'm doing here. And you want to make sure you put the nose up high enough too, because if you don't put it up high enough, if you put it too far down towards the mouth, it won't really show that your nose, once you start going to the below view, your nose is this triangular shape at its core. And if we were to move into some perspective, it'd be like that. And then if we were to move it into a more below perspective, it would be something like this. And this whole part right here, since it curves in like this, if we're going to start looking at it from this direction, because we're going below, this is going to start disappearing a lot faster than you would normally think. So you want to make sure you put it up high enough. And then the ears, you want to make sure, just like knowing this, if you know the perspective of this, and this is one of the more annoying parts, because even if you break down the 3D, break it down in a more of a, you start understanding it more 3D, this kind of gets cluttered if you were to try to draw the back of the head and all that stuff to figure out where the ear is. But that's where, when you're actually drawing this same angle, but turning the head, drawing this stuff from several different angles, if you don't know where the ear might be on this, you could always try to guess, see what looks right. But a good thing is to also go to an angle that you would be able to clearly see where the eye is and where this wraps around to the ear. And you'd be like, So you kind of be able to guesstimate. I mean, there are ways to figure it out kind of with shapes and mathematically, but in any case, with the angle that I'm going at, the ears would be right about here. They would be much lower than you would expect. It would be connecting right to that jawline. So if you knew the jawline, this is the whole skull up in here. But yeah, you know that it connects right around here because of the circular line right there. Draw some eyes on this guy, draw some hair. And where the neck connects, it does get a little thicker right here. And then I know there's the rest of the body and all the other anatomy to it, but the other anatomy for the body can come in another tutorial. Now this side view, kind of music is playing here. All right, now this side view. This is where understanding the skull will really help you, because then you can really determine why and how that this eyebrow bump, where it happens, because you can kind of determine where all these shapes are. And this does take a lot of practice and a lot of hard work, and it may seem impossible at first, but trust me, it's possible, and the hard work does pay off. A lot of people quit before they get to the time where it all starts making sense, but if you work hard enough, you'll get there. This is a sure enough way of getting better. If any of you guys know Kim Jong-gi, he teaches stuff similar to this, very similar. And he is a master. He is amazing. And this isn't actually where I got these ideas on how to do this. I'm self-taught. I learned all my stuff on my own. And it was funny because I didn't know who Kim Jong-gi was at the time, and I was figuring this stuff out, and I was like, oh crap, I feel like I'm figuring something out, because I never went to classes for this type of stuff, and I was like, I feel like I'm actually getting onto something here. And then I watched one of Kim Jong-gi's videos at one point, and I was like, wow, this guy's freaking crazy. And then I realized he was teaching what I was figuring out, and I was like, yes. I felt like a sense of finally I was doing something right. But anyways, yeah, so let's zoom up here on this angle. Zoom up on this angle for you guys. So I'm going to be going a little bit more simple with how I construct it for speed's sake, and basically I've already learned a lot of the shapes. No, I'm not perfect, and to be completely honest, I haven't been practicing lately, and it's showing. I'm not drawing as fast, other than me being super tired and needing to eat. I haven't been practicing lately, which you're like, well, don't you like draw all the time? And I'll be like, yeah, I do. But even drawing all the time, there's certain angles and the kind of 3D structure that if you don't have it all set in your mind, it starts slipping away. You need it to be you want to be able to get this stuff as fluent as speaking. If you want to be a professional artist and you want to be a good one, you want to get that as fluent as possible, especially if you want to be a manga artist. For any of you out there wanting to be a manga artist, you got to get this stuff down pat. So basically what I wanted to try to show you with this angle, some of the things that I had a hard time with was, one, knowing where to put the back of the skull and how it connects to the head, how this underjaw connects to the neck here. Well, that's how it connects and stuff, but I can go more in depth with that in more anatomy tutorials, but essentially it. If you normally if you learn these shapes and stuff like that, and you really start studying things, and when you study them, look for the perspective in what you're studying, and look for those guidelines, like the eyebrows will always be aligned. Look for those lines in whatever you're studying, and it will help you be able to break down what you're studying, so you're not like drawing an eye too high or too low or something like that. In any case, all right, one of the hardest things I know is, one, the eye. I'm going to get to this. I erased that for a purpose. I'm going to redraw it so I can show you some shapes here. The eye, this eye shape is like this, essentially. It goes from being kind of course, I know there's different shaped eyes, but it goes from being like that to when we turn it like this, you're going to start noticing a little shape like that. And then what? And there's all these other things about like eyeball and stuff. If you don't draw the eyeball right in it, you're going to be like, try to draw just a circle, it ain't going to work. you're going to want to draw something that is more so like that's a little too exaggerated. Let's draw more anime-like. All right. You're going to want to draw it more of an oval here. And then the pupil, if you study some eyes, the pupil's going to go closer to this line. And you can already see it starting to look better. It actually looks like they're looking in that direction. But anyways, yeah, it's already starting to look like they're looking in that direction. And, you know, if I wanted to, I could just come in here, draw a shine there. And voila! Got an eye from that angle. Now, the other thing I wanted to cover is this part right here. Really annoying. I know it is. I know it's really annoying. But when you learn this, this is why it's good to learn the skull shape in all these different perspectives, and you can use reference and stuff to learn it. But you learn that you got the eyebrow, you got this huge eye socket here, which would, you know, do that, and you got this nose ridge, and you got that whole thing going on. So if we were to figure that out based on everything we knew, I kind of erased it a little bit too much, and you had that little nostril heart bone in perspective. Let's see if I can erase it just enough. We would be able to then extend that nose like that, and this goes straight up into the eyebrow. This goes straight up into the eyebrow, and your eye would be hiding behind that nose. Voila! Got a head for you. Now I'm finally going to look at some comments. For those of you who stuck around, thank you. I'm going to look at some comments here real quick. I don't want these streams to get over an hour. I think below an hour is a good time. So let me look at this stream here. Get into the comment section here. Hello, what's up? Hello, everybody. How did you get published with Noir? For if you're still around, person who asked, they came to me with an offer, and I accepted. I try to draw in your style because it's so beautiful. I love this. Oh, thank you very much. Pedro17. I'm gonna butcher everyone's names if I do say them. So, I was actually just watching a vid on Face Perspective. I got this notification. Sweet. Whoa, that's awesome. I hope this tutorial helps. And for anyone who's wondering, it will be reposted. just like all my other live streams. So your voice puts me to sleep in a good way. Well, I mean, I guess that's good and bad. Well, I'll take a compliment. Thank you. Hey, what's up there, Samir? The phone notification was actually helpful getting here. Oh, well, thank you. Thank you, phone notification. Thank you for the heart. Live channel. What is star time? Huh? I'm not sure what that means, but I think, man, it's really hard to see this screen, but I think it's regular shape. Just cut looking out. What time started? Okay. Gotta stream again. I love your stuff. Thank you, everyone, for all the nice comments. Are you gonna post after you're done? Oh yeah. When you're practicing perspective, did you rotate cubes all angles from different camera levels? Yeah, I would say practice them in every perspective you can. You know, if you have one thing that really helps build your 3D memory is when, first of all, you want to know your perspective pretty well to be able to do this without a perspective grid, but know if you can take this cube and shift it this way, almost in like a circle, and know how to then draw it like this, and then if I were to take it and then, you know, take this corner, tilt it up that way. Oh, tilt it up that way. You know, basically being able to try to then just rotate this cube. I called it a cube, guys. It's okay. For anyone who's listened to this whole stream, you'll understand. I finally called it a cube. But yeah, just being able to rotate, memorize this kind of stuff. And there'll be a point where you're just like, you know, you just know the perspective of it so well that you would be able to imagine the cube without actually drawing it, and then just put in some guidelines and then start drawing, you know, the head. That's a really bad head. Oh no, I cannot leave that mouth there. and that and this, I cannot leave that there. Oh, whatever. My lines are really thick. Let me continue reading some of these comments. 0.5. Yes, my lead size is 0.5. He's so good. What he does. Oh, thank you. I'll draw skulls. Well, that's good. Thank you for drawing well, John. That's cool. And I didn't wear my headphones this time, so you guys can't hear me as well. Probably. The audio is probably going to be so weird on this when it re-uploads. It's probably going to be on one side of the ear. Darn it. Well, sorry for you re-upload folks. Or even right now you might be getting it in one ear. But what up? Hope I'm not too late. It's really good. So what are you drawing now? My first stream. Awesome. Let me get down to the bottom here. Can you do a live stream or a video on drawing the female body? Oh, good gosh, yes. That sounded really weird. What I mean is, oh good gosh, I would love to help you guys with that because female bodies are very difficult, and that's something I've been studying a lot about because I'm not the best at them, but I've learned enough that it would be good for me to learn even a little bit more to then go on and do a tutorial to help you guys with it, you know. Um, Love how you can make things pop in on the paper. That's why I love your full page sketch videos. Thank you. Wow. Heart. I didn't say wow to someone's comment. I was reading a comment, but anyway. You should stream on Twitch. I do have a Twitch. I have streamed on there a little bit. I got the fan base here, and I got you guys here, so I thought I might as well stream here. But I might do some Twitch stuff some of these days. Could you do a tutorial on how to do full body positions? Yes, that will come at some point. Do a full sketch at the end. Do a full sketch at the end. Are you talking about like a full body sketch or like a full face sketch? I don't know. Doing a full body sketch can be kind of a hassle, but let's just do like a let me see, what do I want to draw here? What do I want to draw? This is me just kind of working out what I wanted to do. I don't know if I want to do that with the arm. Yeah, do that. Okay. Because I can narrate a little bit while I'm doing this, maybe. Kind of just went silent because I didn't know what to draw. Like I said, I'm a bit tired, so my imagination is a little bit a little bit crappy right now. Hmm. I don't know what character it will be. I'll just draw some random character. I didn't do any of this square stuff with this because these are shapes that I've built, the simplified shapes that I've built for these perspectives. And I mean, you see people doing shapes like this all the time. So that's what a lot of people do. They create more simple head shapes in order to draw those head shapes in different angles. But what I'm trying to do with this video, like I've done throughout the whole thing, is trying to teach you the base and to make you understand it further so that you'll be able to essentially draw anything in the long run. That's what my goal is with my tutorials. It's not just to teach you the fast way, because anyone can sit there and be like, here's a circle, here's a line, let me do the measurements. And you like legitimately, some people will do the measurements and they'll be like, okay, it cut out again. Sorry, guys. Hopefully it's back on again for you guys. But anyways, um, yeah, some people will draw it, like this, and anyone can kind of do that, but you want to try to learn it. And I almost forgot what I was saying, but I'll leave it at that. I'm pretty sure you guys know what I was getting at. Because of the whole premise of the video, everything I've been saying up till now. That's good. Look at you guys. You guys made me go over an hour. What have you guys done to me? I also do some tutorials on line control and pretty much draftsmanship, because the key to one of the keys to getting clean lines and learning from your lines is learning to commit to your line, and if it's wrong, do another one, try to figure out what's wrong with it, try to do it right. You want to be able to do committing lines, those kind of lines that go. you want to know what you're doing with the lines instead of drawing freely. Drawing freely is fun. It really is. But there's points where you need to be strict on yourself, and there's points where you can just let yourself relax and draw. The strict points are when you need to get something in a specific perspective. Oh, sorry, I paused because I wasn't sure if my stream was still okay. Yeah, it is still going. I didn't see it going on my screen, but anyways, kind of lost track of what I was saying. I'll keep going with this. It's looking a little flamboyant, if I may say so. Let's give him some like Black Clover themed clothes. Yeah, they didn't make him look any more masculine. I don't know what. Whatever. Stuff happens. Stuff happens. Yeah, but this is from me not, one, me being tired, and two, me not practicing enough. I normally would have been able to get these lines more like, basically line, oh, that's what I was talking about, line control. If you can connect to dot really fast and it looks nice, these are just some quick tips for you guys. I'm sorry, it keeps cutting out, guys. I don't know why, but I should definitely have this stream end real soon. And in any case, maybe if I get rid of this stream up here, it'll help. I don't know. Basically, you want to try to draw a bunch of circles, get them as accurate as possible. Draw lines through them. Draw lines, try to draw straight lines. Basically, you're teaching yourself how to draw the lines that you want to draw. Or you need to draw, even. Let's say, yeah, that's why I was, okay, now I'm just thinking in my head. You want to be able to know that if you see this and this, you want to be able to connect that and that. This is why I knew I needed to connect this in a certain way here, but I kept on redoing the line because my pen control just hasn't been as good. One, hungry, and two, tired. No excuses, Chris, you suck. Gotta do better than this. All right. By the way, for any of you who are still here back and you can hear me, if it cuts out and and it doesn't go back to live, all you have to do is refresh the page. Or if you're on a browser, refresh the page. If you're on mobile, I'm guessing you would just exit out and re-enter the video, and it should clear it out for you. I know if there's any people waiting right now, they won't hear, but if it did cut out again before I'm able to finish this, I will try to finish this sketch for you guys, so at least that much. And don't worry, there'll be tutorials on how to draw hair and all that stuff too. Hair, hands, eyes. I'm going to go in depth with a lot of this stuff, and I would like to do them in these live stream tutorials and try to keep them more compact. I want to keep them shorter than what I'm doing today, and I can do that more so when I have more tutorials like this, because if I have simple tutorials like this, or if this was shorter and it was more straight to the point, basically I would be able to say, if someone were to be like, can you do a tutorial on how to draw heads in different angles, I would be like, I actually have a video for that, you can go check it out here. So it would allow me to be more direct with the kind of streams that I'm doing and answer more questions, and then do more streams and have them not be too long to the point where someone may not want to listen long enough to get to the meat. You know what I'm saying? Oops, sorry guys. Be this one. If you're wondering, it's just normal eraser. I just cut it so that way it's sharp. Nothing special about this guy. Because I know some of you might be like, what? I want an eraser like that. How do you get those lines? The eraser's like jumping away from me. Alright, I think that's just about good enough. Oh, I hope that hand wasn't off the page. Or off the camera view. In any case, that's something. In any case, I'd like to thank everyone for coming. Let me see if there's any more questions. What body part used or is hard for you? Any tips on how to draw wrinkles on clothes? I'll do tutorials like that in the future for sure, but nothing solid right now. But in any case, I will say that I would have to say the hardest part of the body for me right now is I would have to say this. So this area, and this area. And yes, I'm doing an oval here because the places that these connect and how they connect is what I've been having a hard time with. Basically how the joints connect to make it seem like, this is another tutorial I will be doing, is how the arms connect to the body. Sorry, it cut out again. I should really get going here because it keeps doing that. But and how the arms and the body parts connect onto like the torso, how the neck connects to the head, all that stuff. So that way when you're drawing them from the front, there's a lot more that than meets the eye on how it connects and all that stuff to make it look like the arms are falling natural and all that stuff. But anyways, guys, before this cuts out again, hopefully the live video, when it re-uploads, nothing's too wrong with it. It would suck if there is. But in any case, I started my Instagram. Sorry, I was just reading a comment there. I'm glad I inspired you, man. Keep up the good work, everybody. Keep up practicing. Practice makes perfect. You just gotta practice the right things. And if you want to learn, you have to learn. Treat it a little bit. Treat certain portions of it like schooling. There are parts that you're not gonna like, but if you want to get further, you'll do the hard, gritty work, and you will get to where you want to be. And you can do hard, gritty work and then do some fun stuff, but make sure you set aside time to do the gritty learning, to do the not so fun learning. You don't have to do that all the time. Just set time aside to do that, and it will benefit you. In any case, guys, I really hope this tutorial helped you guys. Definitely hit that like button to let me know if you guys like this format. I'm definitely going to try to keep my next tutorial shorter. And thank you everyone for tuning in, and I'll see you guys in the next video.